Hi everybody, Daniel Spat, second part with Michael Joyce. Sorry, we will cut it off. Was sudden loss of the connection. I saved the first part, so we will finish with Michael. Sorry about it. The connection went off. We lost it, but I saved. Hi Elsa, how are you doing? Hi everybody. I saved the first part is on my profile and it's gonna be on my. The connection went totally out of control. I don't know. Happens before, and I lost the interview. Man, I was so sad. Uh, yeah, but right now, thanks. I love it. I love this. As a coach, I love to talk to these guys. I'm learning a lot, guys. I'm learning a lot. Michael Joyce. Michael, you're back. We're going to connect again. Uh, going to finish this wonderful interview. It's a conversation, friendly conversation. There you go, Michael.
Part two.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to tell you something. A long time ago, I had an interview with a Spanish coach. The same thing happened, but you know what? We
He didn't
didn't
come back.
save the interview.
Oh, no, really?
But
At
I
least
saved it. It's already in my
I know
profile.
it's already, because I was like, I pressed it and I was like, wait a minute, I feel like this is deja vu, but I was like, I was trying to find this part two.
Hey,
Yeah,
but we, as coaches, we are problem solvers.
that's it. You got to figure it out.
And
Exactly.
we did it in maybe 1 minute, 2 minutes.
Yes.
Okay, my friend. Do you have 5 more minutes for me?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'm
I
good.
hope you're having a good time, Michael.
I am. Yeah, you have great questions, and it's all you have such great guests on here. I mean, there's nothing like experience, and the people you have. I mean, the current play.
Oh, I lost Michael. Oh my goodness. Michael gone. He was there. Michael, I lost you now. Uh, let me come back. No, yeah. And I will, yes, again. Me ves tú? You guys are watching me? Michael left. He's gone. Oh, Michael. Yeah, let me invite you again. Oh, right there.
Sorry,
I don't know
I'm
what
back.
happened. Yeah.
I don't know what happened. Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay, Michael. Okay,
Yeah.
let's wrap up. We're going to wrap up. Thank you so much for your words, and I'm so excited, so happy.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Michael, no, the question was if you were full-time right now with Sophia Cannon.
Yeah, with her. It's a little. I've been helping her a lot the last couple months. I went out to Indian Wells and we did Miami. I mean, she's a great player. Obviously, I'm trying to help her come back. Her dad's always been her main coach, and he's been with her day one full time. And that's I get along with him fine. I think from a tennis standpoint, everything's good. It's a little bit tough because obviously she's 24. She wants to be a little bit more on her own, and he's still, obviously there all the time. And so I'm a little bit in the middle of that. So right now we're together, but we'll see. I mean, it's always, it's a little bit different too. Like with Jessie, I did everything for years. I mean, with Maria, her dad obviously was super involved early on, but then he was good at kind of taking a step back, and Yuri was always good at having good coaches and people around Maria, and he was very good at trusting the right people. That's one thing I don't know. That's a little tough right now with Sonia because it's just been her and her dad most of the time. So it's still new, but obviously I think I've helped her some, especially she's had some playing a lot better now. So I'm happy that I can do that.
So how do you see American tennis, men's tennis,
Men's
women's tennis too?
great.
Because it's been since, Andy Roddick won the US Open, 20 years. 20 years without a male player winning a Grand Slam.
It's amazing. I mean, I mean, right now the crop of boys coming up is amazing. I mean, we have a lot, and then the women maybe not as much as we're used to in a lot of ways. So I really think a lot of that has to do with the group of players. I mean, obviously, you know, if you look at it as a whole, you know, you want good coaching, you want good, you know, the federation type coaching is important, money, so forth. But at the end of the day, it really comes, I think, to the players. I mean, if you have, I mean, even when I was younger, I mean, the generation right above me was Sampras, Agassi, Courier, Chang. I mean, all those guys. I mean, you look at junior tournaments; those guys were playing all the way up, you know, junior tournaments. And then I had a pretty good group. I mean, I had like Vince Spadia, Chris Woodruff, myself. I mean, you had a pretty good group, but um, I think that's super important because you see, I think that's what's happening some with the boys now is a lot of these boys, TFO, Tommy, Fritz. I mean, you go, they've come up together all the way through the juniors. And so they push each other without even realizing just through competition and it really helps when you see like, oh, this player broke through and, you know, TFO breaks through and then Tommy Paul's like, I can do that, you know, and I think it's like a cycle. And I think that's why, I mean, Italy, you had like a few years ago. I mean, now there's quite a few guys in the top 100, but you would say probably a majority of those guys competed against each other all the way up. And so Spain, remember when Spain had like a ton? So I think, and it's not like the coaching and the federations, I don't think they really changed that much. I think it has a lot to do with some of it's, I think, almost luck in a way. You know, you get a group of players that are pretty good from a young age and they're able to kind of push themselves through up. I think that's usually how it happens. I mean, Argentina, I mean, you know, of course, a lot of it's the coaching and different stuff, but I think a lot of it has to do with the players. Yeah, you know, you get a group of players and they compete well together and they're good and they constantly push each other up. I think that's kind of the natural way of things. And that's why now you see all these young Americans are all about the same age, you know, and I think that's I think that's
any player that you like more, Michael? Winning a Grand Slam in the next few
I
years?
I've always liked Fritz. I've always liked Fritz. Actually, a funny story about Fritz and Jesse. I was talking about with Jesse recently. A few years back, Jesse was playing qualies in Australia, so it must have been like 7-8 years ago, and she was late onto a match, and so like she was like fourth or fifth match on, and we were actually outside walking around. It was about an hour or two before a match, but we had been waiting inside for so long. We decided to go outside, take a walk, get some air and stuff. And then I had heard Fritz was really good. He was like top junior. And I was like, I want to see him play. And so we sat and we watched like 6 or 7 games. I'm like, this guy's going to be good, partly because he could return serve. It was actually pretty funny because I was walking around watching all the qualifying and guys were serving bombs, but like I didn't see anybody that stood out because, you know, guys couldn't return, couldn't get the ball back in play. And then Fritz was playing this guy, Michael Bearer, who was a big lefty, who I actually played against. He was like much older. He was like 34 or something. And Fritz was like making him play every serve. I think Fritz ended up winning like 7-6, 6-4. But I was like, not only does he have a big serve, you know, great backhand, but he's like a good athlete. I could see, and I was like, this guy's going to be good, you know? And so he right now, he to me, for Americans, I think he's a little more solid than TFO. I mean, just my opinion. I mean, TFO is doing great, but I feel like, you know, Tommy Paul, I mean, I like Quarter's game quite a bit. I like if he can stay healthy. I like not only the way he plays, but I think he has a pretty good mentality. And obviously he has you know, his father and his sister. I think he comes from a good background of sports. And so, I mean, there's a lot to choose from. You know, I mean, if you're looking at all players, I mean, I love the way Alcaraz plays. Obviously, I think he's amazing. At his age, everything he can do is amazing. But like we have a pretty good group of Americans right now. It's just whether somebody wants to really turn into like a freak in a way
Yeah,
to actually win. You know,
from Spain.
yeah.
Bel Macias from Spain, Annabelle. She's asking about Shelton.
Oh, I forgot Shelton. Love the way he plays. Love the way he plays. Yeah, it's, you know, whatever I always tell everybody is what Nadal, Djokovic, and Federer, what those three guys have done over the years is like insanity. Okay, a normal person doesn't think like these guys. You know, I mean, Djokovic with everything he's accomplished, and even in those three guys, in a way, it's like what I was saying about pushing yourself. Like, you know, you could sit there and say, oh, well, if you took one away, let's say you took Federer away, would Nadal and Djokovic have 35 slams each? Like, I don't think that would happen. I actually think they've all three accomplished so much because of each other in a way, because they've kept that pushing, right? So I think an American needs to have, in a way, that mentality where, like, they're just gonna, you know, cut out everything and do whatever it takes to be a champion. Some of these guys, like Rune, maybe Sinner, I mean, Alcaraz for sure. That's my only worry, if an American will do that. I mean, I hate to say it.
Today it's sad to see Tommy Paul lost.
I know. I mean, that's the thing that, like, I love Tommy Paul. Like, I know him personally. He's a great guy. You know, he's a great guy. He's talented. I don't know if he, you know, he's probably making a few million a year now. You know, I don't know if they want to go. I'm not saying they don't. I just don't know. Like, you almost have to be mentally, like, different than everybody to be number one. You know, in the men's. I mean, to be, you know, to want to go through that pain of training and playing. The one from America that so far to me shows the closest is Fritz right now.
And Andy Roddick, of course, he did it. He had
well,
it,
he
right?
did it. He did it. He was probably the last, like Roddick's mentality, exactly. Like, we need an American to have similar mentality. Like, Roddick, I feel like, had the mentality. I mean, he'd go to the ends of the earth to try to beat Federer at Wimbledon. Yeah. You know, that's why that 1 year he lost. Yeah, but you have to. I mean, it's not easy to be like that when you're, you know, 25 years old. You're making millions of dollars. You're traveling the world. Like a guy like Tommy Paul or Tiafoe, it can be 12 in the world, 10 in the world, and they have a pretty good life. And, you know, they're set, you know, like, that's what makes, in a way, like, what Nadal, Federer, Djokovic, to constantly be raising that bar and doing it. It's amazing. I think somebody will. You know, somebody from America probably will, and those guys obviously are right there. But I don't know if it's that when you get to that level, that's basically what it is. Obviously, you know, in Grand Slam. That's why they can never go 2 out of 3 sets in Grand Slams. I mean, you can't do that. I know there's always this talk about it, and I don't care for public or whatever. If you all of a sudden make Grand Slams 2 out of 3 sets, you might as well just stop counting Grand Slam championships, because to me it'd be the same as winning, Monte Carlo or something.
Exactly.
You know, that's what makes Grand Slams so amazing, and that's why women, there's so many different winners in a way, because of the 2 out of 3. You know, 2 out of 3. Winning a Grand Slam in the women, to me, is the same as winning Indian Wells or something. And I don't ever understand. I guess in some ways it's good that, like, Raducanu or Andreescu, they win the U.S. Open, so they're going to get much more money, and they won a Grand Slam. But ultimately, a Grand Slam in the women is actually easier in some ways to win than, like, Cincinnati or something, because you're playing 2 out of 3 sets. You just get a day off every match. So the only thing that makes a Grand Slam different for the women is because it's a Grand Slam. You know what I'm saying? Where the men, you could actually say it's a lot different, because a 3 out of 5 set match is totally different than 2 out of 3.
Michael, it's interesting to see in women's tennis players being really inconsistent. You mentioned Raducanu. I can mention Naomi Osaka,
Sure.
Paula Badosa, Gabine Muguruza. Swiatek seems to be the most consistent in the last. But what is going on? Because in the past, you have players who used to be very consistent for so many years in women, and now in the last probably 5 the trend is. What is going on with these
I
girls?
I have a philosophy on all that. I don't know if everybody agrees with me, but I think it has a lot to do with the social media, with the pressures, with the, you know,
Mm,
people looking at. I mean, one thing that, you know, I'll say, like when I started with Maria, like the first few years, like computers were just coming out, phones were kind of new, Twitter, you know, Instagram, this stuff didn't even exist. And like with Maria, she was very like, I mean, I would go up to eat. We'd be in Australia, and like, you know, there might be some article on her in the paper, and I would like move it, or just so she didn't even have to read, because it just didn't do anything except for maybe put something in her mind. So you could almost like hide some of the stuff. And now, you know, the players, especially when they get good or they do something good, they're so famous, they're so
mm,
talked about, they're so, everything is blown so high, this the sponsor, this that, that it's impossible, I think, to keep that, you know, the same training, the same mentality, the same, um, as they do when they're unknown, let's say. I think some players like Muguruza, Kerber, like some of these players, that's why you'll see they'll have 1 or 2 years where like they really put their, or Osaka, you can see they're like locked in, they're giving it everything they have, and then maybe then they come down 20% and they fall down, you know, and then maybe they'll come back. You're right. Swiatek, Sabalenka too. Swiatek, Sabalenka, like those girls, I think have a little bit more of the mentality. Like they want to win titles. Like they want to be the best. They want to win titles. They want to. It goes a little bit to what I was saying about the. I mean, Swiatek is an amazing player, and she's obviously has sponsors. She's making money, but she's not like gonna win a slam and be like Raducanu. Raducanu being, you know, pretty, you know,
yeah.
came out of no. I mean, they get a lot more attention, and they're making more money kind of off the court than on the court. I think Swiatek's still making most of her money on court. You know, of course she has sponsors and stuff, but she's making a, you know, she wants to win, and,
Exactly.
and she wants it day in and day out, and that's, I think, the difference, obviously.
Michael, the one-handed backhand is dead in women's tennis.
No, I don't think it's, no, I don't think it's dead. I think, I mean, you'll see. I think somebody will come back up with a really good one. I mean, there's players, you know, 60, 70 that have pretty good ones. I think it's, I think the variety they have from one side, the slice and stuff, that's what made Henin so tough, and even Maresmo. I think it's going to come back. I think in general, I mean, even the men, I think in general, especially with the way the game is now, with the rackets and strings, and you probably get more out of having a two-hander. I hate to say it, but like, you know, when we played, or like even Federer, like, you know, the advantage of having one hand was you could volley better, serve and volley, come in. Nowadays, I still think there's a room for that. You know, I would love to see Medvedev, you know, play against Sampras, you know, with
Ah,
his standing 15 feet back. Like, I don't think he could do that. I don't think he'd break Sampras like that, yeah, on most surfaces. But of course, he would probably adjust, you know. So I think that's what's happening a little bit with the one-hander is, you know, you got with the strings, the rackets, it's maybe a little tougher for a one-hander to have 20 ball rallies
mm,
on other surfaces besides clay. I mean, even Federer, you could see towards the end, it was tough for him to stay in a ton of rallies with some of these guys, you know, and as good as he was. So I think that's where, I think everything goes in cycles. I think we'll see one hand again. Somebody will pop up, and then the kids will start wanting to
is
do it. I
there
mean, how many kids are doing this run around drop shot forehand because Alcaraz does it all the time? That, I think
absolutely?
that has a lot to do with it. The style, who's winning with the style, the kids copy it, and then it's constant cycle kind of.
Michael, and to wrap up this wonderful time, you were running a symposium course for coaches. Please, I heard about in an interview that you talk about Azarenka when you were coaching her, Victoria. She wanted to watch 10 points
Oh,
before the matches. Please tell us some of the things that we couldn't see, we don't see,
you're
we
right.
don't have access. You do
Yeah.
behind the scenes. How these guys prepare? Maria, Jesse,
Yeah,
Johanna
everybody again.
Conta.
Yeah, everybody again. Everybody's different. I think nowadays again, it's you have more access to footage, internet and videos and tapes. So some players like to watch a lot. Some players don't really want to watch much. Some players, I think. I think it's some players like to talk about the match the day before. Some people, don't like to talk about it till maybe the day, but I think it's really important. I mean, I always feel like, I've had a few players. Maria was one of them who I always would make notes for, so like the day before, let's say a Grand Slam, like you have a day off in between. So maybe she would win her second round, and then you have a day before the third round. So obviously, who you're going to play. So then I would kind of cater a practice. That's where me being able to hit would helps. If she played a girl who hit really flat and hard, I could, do that, feed her balls or hit like similar to the girl she's gonna play. Talk about maybe a few tactical things, and then usually I would make her like a set of notes, and usually the notes like Andy Murray had. You remember? Do you ever read see his notes? Like somebody took a picture. He had some notes one time, and it was funny because like every time, I would write Maria's notes. I'd make them fresh for every match, and the first like three lines were always like the same. It was like number one, like hit the ball. It sounds ridiculous, but like sometimes you just need to remind, like you got to hit the ball, like hit the ball, you know, you swing free, just kind of, and then you start to get into some tactical things like, this girl, try to go maybe first ball in her forehand, something tactical. And then, and then some players that they just not going to really read the notes. It's not a big, but Maria liked to actually read them. With Vika, what was funny, and the reason I mentioned it was because she wanted, and it was funny at the time because I'm not that great with the computer and as you know, and like tapes and so she wanted me to, if she was going to play a girl, she wanted to get like, she didn't want to watch the whole match, but she wanted to watch about 10, 12 points. And she was really interested in like, if a ball was in the middle where the girl usually hits it, which
But
makes a lot of sense. Like
which points?
it's
I mean,
just random,
random. Okay.
yeah, it just random points of like her opponent, so like if I was like, if I thought the girl, let's say, had a really good down the line backhand, for instance, like you have to watch out for it, maybe I'd make 6 or 7 of the clips like where the girl like runs over and hits a winner down, or something, and be like, listen, you got to watch for this. Or like if the girl runs around, hits her forehand, where do they normally hit? So I'd say, okay, let's say 80% of the time the girl hits inside out. I might make like 5 points where she's doing that play, and that she liked it because she liked the visual of seeing. So yeah, it would just be random, but it was funny for me because it was like I had never done that, and then I was like, oh man, how do I clip like 2 points out of it? So I'd get like her agent or some girl like to help me with it, and I'd set it up. But the sad thing with Vika was I worked with her for like 10 months and she only played 2 tournaments because she was going through that whole
Yeah.
custody with her, with the son. And it really sucked because we spent like 3 months getting her back in shape. And, after having the baby, and she was awesome to work with, she was so competitive, she has the mind of a champ. Like I remember like we practiced for like a month and she was just getting back into it. And then we were in Belarus and I got 2 boys to hit with her. And then we were doing the same drills. And I was finally like, Vika, you want to play some points? Like, she's like, yeah, let's play some points. And like, literally like the second point that she played in like a year, she was like fist pumping, like in practice. And I'm like, we don't have a tournament for 2 months. Like, how are we going to keep this level? Like, and then, so we actually started on the grass like about a month early, and she played really good at Wimbledon. She lost to Halep like in the fourth round. And then unfortunately,
Yeah. I'm not.
hello.
Oh, yeah. I'm listening
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. Yeah. After like, she had the problem with the boy's
Yeah.
father, she couldn't play. So it wasn't like I spent a ton of time with her playing. With Konta, we'd actually, she liked to sit, like have like a tea almost, and like talk the match over for 30 minutes. So every, ahead of time, like way ahead of time. And then some people don't talk about it that much, but you got to make a few points, and then like right before they go on, you're like, then everybody's different. Some players need to focus only on what they need to do with a couple things, and then some people, you don't really need to remind them what they need to do. They just need to be aware of kind of what the opponent's going to do. So every situation is different.
Michael, to finish this wonderful talk, please, I'm going to ask you for a big favor.
Yeah.
To give out a message to the junior players, brief message, advice, message, suggestions, whatever you want to call it. Junior players, coaches, and parents.
Okay. Well, the biggest thing I'll say, especially over with my experience, when I was a kid, I used to always hear like, if you lost a tough match or something, I'd always hear like, oh, you got to shake it off, and in 5-10 years, you're not going to remember this. And I used to think, yeah, no way, like this is like, I'd be like devastated or something. And it's really true. Like, as time goes on, I mean, even my career, I can remember like a handful of matches, or I'm remembered from a handful of matches. And I probably played thousands of matches. And so I think when you're a junior, it's really, especially now with all the rankings and UTR and what's this new rating number, there's so many like ways of judging not only the kids but the coaches, the parent. Like, I think you have to find a way to try to block that out and not make that such a big thing. I think it's really hurting a lot of the players' development. I think it's hurting a lot of the whole reason why we play tennis in the first place, because it's a game. It's a game we're trying to play. And I think nowadays that's harder than all, because it's so easy to compare yourself to other people. Especially now, you can compare yourself to people the same age all over the world. And of course, you're going to always look at who's the most successful. And I think that hurts the player's development. I think it's really important for the parents to not get like go down that route, which a lot of them do, even more than the kids sometimes. And ultimately, everybody has different goals. But I'd say majority of players and juniors that are pretty good, they either want to be a pro, or they want to get a scholarship to college, whatever. We all have, but worrying about what somebody else is doing on the other side of the world, or what somebody's doing in this tournament or that tournament. We all have our own path, and we're lucky we're in a sport too, where if you do lose, you usually have a tournament like the next week. I mean, Medvedev said it the other day. He was perfect. He's like, yeah, I lost. I gave it everything I had. Like, I'm disappointed to be leaving early, but I have, a week to rest, and I'm going to prepare for the next one. So, and he said that's the beauty of tennis. You lose, but then maybe you win the next one. And so I think it's really important to keep the wins and losses in perspective, not get too excited about success, wins, and same with losses. It's not the end of the world. You try to get a little bit better. And I think if you keep that mentality, that's usually how the champions are always thinking that way, or at least have people around them, and they like the process more than the actual result. I think that's important for coaches, players, everybody. And that's tough, because we are in a sport where results matter at all levels. For the coach, for the parent, so it's there. I mean, the pressure and stuff. And if you can't handle pressure, I always hear the kid. I'll have some kid that maybe doesn't handle pressure well, but then the parents think he's going to be the next like number one, or she. So there's like a disconnect there. Like, let's let's have them handle the pressure a little better. Then we can worry about, it's there's different stages through development, and I don't think you can really cut through many stages stages. You got to go through each, and you got to love the process, and then you have a chance to be really good.
So parents, I see here in California, parents who are getting overly involved in the
Yeah.
players, actually coaching. You see
Yeah.
parents with basketball balls, feeding
Oh yeah.
balls. They are not coaches.
Yep. Yep.
What is your point of view about that, Michael?
Well, it's hard because you obviously, if you look at majority of really good players, they had somebody, whether it was a parent or Uncle Tony or somebody who kind of was like a little bit crazy that's going to make the kid just go 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 go. Unfortunately, the kid usually when they do become good, we don't hear about the thousands of kids that don't play anymore because of it, which is probably happens more than the good ones. But the
Yeah.
couple good ones that do go through, I mean, you told me to listen to Mary Pierce when I told you I was listening to some, and I listened to like 5 minutes, and she hit it on the nose. She was talking about her dad and stuff, and what he did and how tough he was on her. Probably 99% of the girls would have quit, and it worked for her because she was tough or whatever. And I think I think I think sometimes especially when kids are younger, if a family doesn't have that much money or they don't have a lot of means, they might go see a really good coach and gets information from the coach, and then the parent then goes and works on it because you need all those extra hours where maybe the coach isn't available. So again, like there's a little bit give and take, but I think in some ways, the perfect parents are like kind of like William's father or even Yuri in a lot of ways, because they were like the kid's coach in a way, like spending the extra time, feeding balls, doing this, but they never like didn't put them with a good coach. You know what I'm saying? Like Maria always had good coaching, no matter, I mean, she was at Boletaire, she
Yeah.
started going to Robert, and so, yeah, so Yuri was like taking her to tournaments. Even when she was younger, she had a coach at the tournaments, Williams the same way, the dad, but they went to Macy. Like, you don't see too many situations where it's just the player coach. I mean, the parent and the player. But what's crazy is like you'll see sometimes somebody do well, and then the parents there because the family can, they can support that the family doesn't need to work, let's say. So the parents there, and then everybody thinks like the parent was the coach, and they weren't, like, but it's such a weird dynamic. And I do think you need a parent or somebody who's going to do the extra time if you don't have a coach that can do it, because obviously, I mean, even as good a coach as Lansdorp was, if I didn't have my dad, I mean, I wasn't going to get good from 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week. I needed who's going to be with me the other 20 hours kind of thing, but my dad would get like, hire some guy from UCLA to hit with me, or, see, or hitters or this. So I was getting information from a lot of different people. And my dad was kind of just driving me around, and maybe like the stuff we learned, he would remind me, but it wasn't like I know it all, and or I'm going to go on the internet and go look at some drills and I can do that too, and we don't need to pay somebody. I think it's a problem. I really do, because also the kid at a certain point is not going to want to hear, even if the parent's saying the right things, a kid's not going to want to hear it from the parents at a certain point. I mean, that's just a natural. I didn't want my dad, I wasn't listening to my dad at 17, 18. I mean, come on. Somebody else tell me the exact same thing and I'd listen to it. And so I think it's certainly a big problem. There's no doubt.
Last one, Michael. Last one. I'm a father. I bring into you my son, my daughter, 14, 15 years old, 13. And I'm asking you, Michael, private lessons or group lessons for my daughter?
Group lessons is a group lessons is a babysitting service. Come on. I mean, it is. I mean, when I went with Lansdorp, he did have his workouts twice a week for like an hour and a half. So like those 2 days I said I went, I took an hour lesson. I usually played a match, and then we would there'd be 3 or 4 on a court, and we do what was called like the workouts. And yeah, and those were probably the best of, you'd ever see. I mean, there'd be like 30 kids and like 20 of them were national champions, you know. So I'm like out there with like, you know, Tarango and Sampras and, you know, but my parents always, and I always thought of that as like that was like a fun reward for the week. You know, it wasn't like my main training. It was like a workout. That's what it was called, the workouts, you know. And Robert would have hit a couple balls and then run around the court. And then, but I've also gone to, like, when I left LA, I went to Charleston for like a year and a half. And when I first got there, the whole academy was like a 6-hour academy. And I got there in the summer and you'd have 4 or 5 kids on each court. It's like 100 degrees. The kids are just trying to survive. You know, they're talking, picking up balls, hit a couple balls. It's like you know, it's like it's a summer camp. You're not going to get good in groups. I mean, I even now the most maybe I get 2 players on the court. You know, you can do some stuff with 2 players, and I'll jump in. But once you start like these 3, 4, 5 kids, I mean, it's fine to like learn how to play tennis, you know, if you just want to, you know, learn the sport, but you're not getting to be a really high level doing that.
Yeah,
Just
but you
that.
know what? The parents are coming to you and are telling me, Daniel, the problem, my son is getting bored in the private lesson. He wants to make friends,
Well,
they said.
yeah, well then, but and again, like that's fine, but are you trying to keep your kid like entertained, or are you trying to make a really good player? I mean, you know, like the groups for the kids, or to learn how to play, or if have fun. It's an age thing too. A group for a 6, 7-year-old, I think is great. Like my daughter's 7. I mean, she's gonna play if there's a group or whatever. But when you
Is
start
he
talking,
playing tennis, Michael?
not much. She actually, I was telling somebody this today. She got like a head start on it because when she was like 3, 4, she was hitting and stuff, and then she got a little bit spoiled because in Orlando she only liked to play indoors, so she doesn't like the she she so since we moved back down to Delray Beach, there's no indoors, so she doesn't want to play anymore. So I think I never liked the heat that much. So, but if she does decide to really want to play, she's gonna be ahead of the game because she already like hits the ball pretty
But
good.
would you, if she decided to play, would you coach her or would you put her with somebody else's hands?
I think I'd do a combination. I think I would do a combination. I mean, obviously, you're gonna do for your kid, you know, your daughter, whatever. You're gonna do whatever you can for them. But I also think it's important that to listen to other people and obviously have somebody else push in some ways. But I think again, it's situational. I mean, some kids are gonna listen more than others. I mean, one thing I will say too is with the good players who do have, let's say, crazy parents, because most of them do have one that's crazy or something. I usually say it's the way the kid deals with it is more important than the actual parent, because it's very tough to have a parent like change, especially if they've been doing something a certain way. It's tough for you to expect that all of a sudden the parent's gonna like step back and not be involved, right? It's tough. I mean, maybe they do it, but I think the kid needs to set that boundary. I mean, even with my dad was with me all through the juniors, like pretty much. I mean, my mom would travel with my sister, she played some, and then my dad would go with me. And then everybody just thought, oh, it's Michael, he's top junior, his dad, he's his coach, whatever. And then when I was 18, I went to Europe to play Junior Wimbledon and French Open. And it was the first time I went by myself, and I did great. Like I felt so relaxed that I got to the finals of Junior Wimbledon. And I could tell my dad like was happy for me, but it also made him a little bit like sad in a way, I think, because it kind of made him feel like I didn't need him as much, you know? And then when I turned pro, I had some contracts, you know, not huge money, but enough where I could pay for a coach and travel. And I told my dad, if I'm going to turn pro, I don't want you traveling with me. And for like a year, it was rough. I mean, it was rough. I'd go to tournaments and I'd lose, and my dad would say, "Ah, you're not working hard. You lost because I wasn't there. You beat that guy when I was." I mean, I had to hear it all. I mean, we actually for like a year were like, it was bad, and then eventually, you know, he was okay with it, and it became normal. But a lot of kids can't make that separation, and ultimately, as time goes on, it becomes. The kid's the one that gets hurt by it, you know. And then Maria was good with Yuri because Maria was so independent. I mean, you knew her when she was little. She's a pretty independent
She could
girl. So
she could set the boundaries with her father,
yeah.
Michael.
Oh, big
Ah,
time,
okay,
big time.
okay.
I mean, even when I used to go to, but a lot of people don't realize though too, was when Maria was like 8 or 9, 10, and she came to US and
Yeah.
they went to Bollettieri's. I mean, Yuri was doing like odd jobs just to so they could live. So he was cutting the golf course, he was driving a taxi. So Maria at like 9, 10 years old would take herself from like these apartments to Bollettieri's on a bike herself,
Yeah.
and make her own breakfast. Like she spent about 3 or 4 years when Yuri was like doing odd jobs. And then when she was 13, 14, and she got some money from IMG, which helped, you know, support the family, her mom came over. That's when Yuri started to be there more. But she spent a good 3 or 4 years. She was a lot on her own. I mean, Yuri was obviously there at night, but he wasn't that involved with her tennis that much when she was really young, as much as he got, you know, in her middle teens. So I think that has a lot to do with it. Jessie, same thing. I mean, her dad would say things that would like really bring her down, and sometimes like not on purpose, but learned how to kind of handle it and deal with it. And you know, their relationship's probably better than ever. So you know, it's the hard part is the parents live vicariously through the kids, and when the kids lose or the kids are struggling, I think the parents take it personally, and now they're worse than the kids. I mean, they're looking at the rankings and this and what can we do, and it's like it's can be a vicious cycle. There's no doubt.
Michael, was fantastic time. We have kind of two interviews
We
in one.
we got two in. Who would have thought, right?
I love it, man. I
And
had
I
a
found my way on twice. Yeah.
fantastic time. And
Thank you.
I don't wanna leave you before you go to have dinner with your family to tell everybody listening, thank you guys. The best lesson that you learn from tennis, right? Life lesson that you learn from playing tennis.
The biggest one I would say is to be a really good tennis player, you have to learn how to like take tough situations and bounce back. You know, I think the greatest gift a tennis player can have is resilience and like short-term memory, you know, in a smart way. I mean, you want to look back at maybe mistakes you made or things you've done that you could do differently, but you have to be able to, you can't take, you know, that's basically what confidence is. I mean, confidence is you're winning, you feel confident, you probably go into the match knowing you're going to win, you know. Um, you know, and it's easy to get away from that if you are struggling or you're losing, and that's where losing's tough enough as it is, but now you're hearing that you're not, this person's better than you because you lost the tennis. Maybe you think about, you know, where we tend to go. You know, I've done comparison. I mean, as parents, as players, it's easy to compare yourself to other people or other situations, but that's also a huge, like, can hurt your development, and it hurts your mental health. And so, you know, at the end of the day, you're playing, if you're playing for the right reasons, because you love the sport, you want to get better, you like competing, all those things, you're probably going to end up pretty good. You know, you're probably going to look back at least and say it was worth doing that, because, you know, tennis opens so many doors. I mean, there's so many things that come along with it. But if you're doing it because your parents are forcing you to do it, or you know, they give you oh, we spent all this money and now you want to give up, you know, you start to do it for those reasons, or coaches that just want to teach to make money and they're just counting the time, you know, it's like anything. You have to be invested. You have to care. You have to um, look at how the process can get better. And I think that's what makes the game exciting. And then when you do accomplish something, you're like, wow, I really did it. So I think that's that having that ability to learn every day to get up, because it's hard. I mean, it's not easy going hitting tennis balls 3-4 hours a day for your whole life. I mean, so you better like really enjoy it and love it. It's going to be hard at times, no doubt, but it's that's the most important.
Michael, thank you so much. I wish you the very best,
Thank
and
you.
we're gonna stay in touch for sure.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I'll be out in California soon,
Oh,
so I'll
really?
look you
Give
up
me
when.
give
Yeah,
me a call.
I'll go out. I go out there quite a bit. Yeah, so I'll give you a call, and I
And
will be in
we get a
touch.
coffee together.
Yes, that'd
You
be
like
great. What area do you live
coffee?
in? I like coffee,
Starbucks?
sure. Yeah, Starbucks. But it's tough to beat that, though. What area are you living in?
Irvine.
Oh, you're in Irvine. Okay, I know that well, of course. That's actually a great area. You're like halfway between LA and San Diego, pretty much.
Absolutely.
It's
Absolutely.
the
It's a half,
best.
exactly halfway.
Exactly halfway. It's like the perfect place near Newport. Big tennis community there. Yeah, so I'm actually probably going to go out there next week. So
Oh,
maybe
really?
I'll,
Please
yeah,
give me a call.
yeah, I'll give you a call because I won't be that far from you. We'll get a coffee. You drink Starbucks, or you're
Oh,
Argentinian?
any place where you can see that we can talk. I will love it, man. I love
Awesome.
talking about tennis, and I think you like to, right? You love to.
Yeah, once I get going, it just starts coming out. Yeah.
Your wife is your wife
No,
around? Is she around?
well, she's around right now, my daughter and wife, but my wife doesn't like I think I married my wife because when I first met her, I went to Charleston, and she kind of asked me what I did. I said I coach tennis, and she's like, "Oh, that's great. Like, who do you work with?" And I'm like, I work with this Pagula girls, some juniors over." And she's like, "Oh, that's great." She's like, "So what do you do for a living?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
Yeah.
And she knew John McEnroe, and she knew like the Williams, but she didn't know Sharapova. Like, she didn't know anything. And but I'll tell you now, 8-9 years later, like, she'll sit there and watch Jessie playing on TV, and she'll be like, "Man, why isn't she moving in on that?" And Jessie's my daughter's godmother too. And we still talk all the time. Pagula.
Look at that.
Yeah. So my daughter likes to watch Jessie play, but that's about it. Yeah.
Wonderful,
But my
wonderful.
wife would
So,
be a
my
good
friend,
coach now.
big hug to you,
Thank you. You too.
and I appreciate your time. You were so kind and so
Yeah.
nice and so generous with your
And it's
answers.
great too. I can look at the replay and see all these what people are writing in, because I didn't pay attention until just
No, yeah,
recently.
you won't see that, but it's okay.
Oh,
They were very
that's
happy,
okay.
very grateful with that,
Yes.
and they look very happy.
Awesome.
Michael, thank you, my
Thank
friend,
you.
and
Thank
I
you.
hope I see you soon.
Yes, absolutely. Bye,
I'm
Daniel.
gonna
Thank you.
upload it in my YouTube channel now.
Awesome. Thank you,
Thank
buddy. Appreciate it.
you, my friend.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye bye. See you
Bye-bye.
soon. Bye, everybody. Good night.